It being 5:30, I think we have commissioners and some other people that are joining us here tonight. And we'd like to welcome. I'd like to call to order the February 22nd, 2022 meeting. 2222. I like it. And with that being said, before we after we call to order, we'd like to ask everyone to rise for Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it
stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, we'll go right into the approval of the minutes that we I believe that we were able to sign and review today.
Yeah, for February 8th.
February 8th, correct.
I'm good with them unless anybody has something to say about them.
Nope, they're fine.
You're good, yep.
Okay, I move to approve the meeting minutes for the February 8th meeting of the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Superintendent updates, please.
Thanks, Steve. Hello, everybody. I'll try and blow through these rather quick. We've got a couple of visitors here tonight. Start off with flushing and sprinkler flows. Seems to be the repeat around here. Companies are working around the weather to get their required sprinkler tests completed. All tests that have flowed water have been posted. We continue to search for leaks in the distribution system when we're not out performing any type of events like this. We have noticed a few surprises with the fluctuations in temperatures. We have found a couple vacant properties that were not on the radar initially. Once it warmed up a little bit, we found that they were leaking, so those have been shut off. Notices left on the doors where we don't have contacts to everybody in town. A few of the other items that had come up that we didn't really notice, and we still don't know 100% if they actually have a major impact on the run times at the wells, would be the vehicle maintenance that's going on in highway. So they're washing out all of their sanders, any ones that aren't being used for the storm. So there's some additional usage there. And one thing that we were a little surprised about was that the fire department was actually conducting live training drills with a few of their new members, dressing hydrants, running through a pumper truck, and actually spraying some water through the pumper, through the hose. So
They don't alert you when they do that?
they did not this time. In the past, it's been on and off, depending on if they're going to use a lot of water or what they consider a lot of water, they would notify us. So we did send out another email requesting notification for any flow event, just so we can know what's going on, especially if we were doing any samples or anything at the time. Just not a good mix to have no communication going on. So hopefully that will be rectified. We'll keep an eye on what's going on in that corner of town a little bit more. And
The unaccounted for water too.
that's the biggest thing is, they can't put a meter on those hydrants that address to the fire trucks. Typically we do have a meter on the hydrant that the highway department uses, but not this time of year. So all of those flows, like you said, add to the unaccounted for.
Frank, what part of town are they doing this at? Is this right at the fire department?
That's right in the center, yeah. I had found out about it through a social media post the other day, similar to how I found out about a previous training event that is going on down at the highway department, kind of off the beaten path. So, I'm all for training and all for, live events. As long as we know about it, we can prepare and adjust our systems accordingly. So a little better coordination in the future, I think, will take care of all those situations.
Sure.
As far as flushing, we have been doing some light system flushing, primarily focusing on the dead ends, as we had mentioned previously was going to happen. And the guys are actually out today taking advantage of the nice weather. They actually flowed some water on Dean Street, I believe a little bit on Hodges, North Worcester and Richardson Avenues were also flushed, just keeping the water fresh in what is a dead end, non-looping area. to jump back on February 10th, we had asked Mass DEP if they had a representative available to come out and inspect 2 of our locations that we had modified. Jillian was available and did meet us on site. She actually met us down at well 5A, the temporary well location. We were to explain to her what was done, which she couldn't see, which was under the ground and under the ice. We walked her through what was there for the temporary pump and temporary connection, and she was fine with it at the time. Took a few pictures. From there, we proceeded. We escorted her over to our well 3 location, where we explained that we just recently installed the 220 feet of 12-inch ductile iron pipe in a loop so that we could achieve the contact time required for 4-log virus removal. Showed her the as-built, showed her the plans that were previously approved by DEP. We also demonstrated a full lockout procedure, basically simulating a low disinfection scenario in the well. Run through by SCADA, lock the well out, gave us the phone a call, also notified us by the computer. She was more than satisfied with that.
Great.
And approved the 4-log pipe and telemetry at that location. I believe it was a few days later we actually received the approval letter from Mass DEP, so very quick turnaround on that.
Excellent.
Very good.
That location and that loop will actually be turned on as of March 1st because there is quite a bit of paperwork involved and additional work that has to go on at that location based on sample results and stuff. So a little bit of work has to be done on our end before we can activate that. But with the change in paperwork, it figured to be easiest to do it on the 1st of the month and start fresh. She had also asked about the water treatment facility and how well it was going there. So that actually ended up turning into a small walkthrough with her. We invited her to the facility, went down. She was very impressed with the cleanliness of the facility, the operations. We showed her everything that goes on there. She had been involved with, I believe, some of the inspection processes early on at that location. So she was happy to see it in its fully operational status. She commented on how small the facility was, which I had to laugh a little bit about. She seemed to have forgotten the amount of hoops that we had to jump through to get that facility to fit on that location based on everything else that went on down there. Once I refreshed her memory, she chuckled a little bit about it, and she understood where we were and what the restraints were. Obviously, she pointed out that we could definitely be in a better position if we had additional filter bays and stuff there for backwashes and, potential other treatment processes that may have to happen in the future.
Great. Hands are tied.
We can't fix what's already there.
Yeah.
Ends up, so then, as I mentioned, she previously was okay with the temporary setup at well 5A. Later in that day, we found out that her supervisor was not impressed with the temporary setup and required a change in the piping that was going to be used before he would sign off on that. So we reached out to a few different suppliers who actually were able to secure a different type of hose, a little more rigid than what was in place that we were borrowing. Had an estimated 2-week delivery time and actually came in today, so a whole week ahead of schedule. We were able to get that pipe actually installed early this morning before the rain started. We were able to pressurize, check the connections for leaks, flushed and chlorinated that and took a sample at that location. So it is.
They wouldn't let you use regular plastic 200 psi pipe, plastic pipe.
It had to be
MPI.
NFI 61 rated.
Yeah.
Potable water hose.
Yep.
Which, it's an odd situation. This is a non-potable well prior to the treatment facility. So everything that comes in is raw water. There's no, early on treatment processes. We don't inject chlorine, basically raw water. So everything prior to treatment process is non-potable. So, fittings and connections and stuff there really shouldn't make a huge difference.
Right.
But we're at the mercy and regulations of Mass DEP. So we changed, to meet what they wanted. And like I said, that pipe was installed today. We took our sample and ran it to the lab. So now we wait on the sample results there. All that paperwork, sample result, pictures, and everything will then be forwarded to Weston and Sampson for their stamp, and then Weston and Sampson will go to Mass DEP hopefully for their final approval, and then we can have that well back on or that well online, take well 5 offline. We do need to talk in the near future about a cleaning at well 4, something that we didn't anticipate, hoping that we would see well 5 and 6 already in the build process. It looks like with the delays that we anticipated, they may be longer than we anticipated for parts, pumps, motors, all of that. So we noticed a steady decline in well 6 and well 4. Well 4 being kicked down the road a little bit further, which is something I'll talk about a little bit later on. I think is going to be our best option to clean that before we get into the summer months. So that's something we'll talk with Frank Sullivan about, work up some prices and some timing with that. Putting temporary well 5A online is definitely going to lessen the burden of every other well that we have, but we want to do everything we can not to beat up all the wells that we have. So if a short cleaning is due, we'll definitely pony up the money and put a cleaning out well 4. So that'll actually transition me over to funding. So we had talked quite some time with Congressman Jake Auchincloss and his constituents, and it looked a while ago like there was going to be some funding coming down from Washington that would basically fund or pay for the majority of wells 5, 6, and 4. We've been told in not so direct fashion that basically Washington is stalled with any of the funding, and we may want to look at other funding options. So that will be something that's going to be added to my capital budget, would be the replacement for well 4. It's great if the money comes available, or if you don't want to rely on paper money that may not actually ever happen. So it's an unfortunate circumstance. We kind of knew it was almost going to be a reality, and hope for the best, but we're going to plan for the worst. So we have funding in place for the finishing of wells 5A and 6A. That was approved at the May town meeting, May 8th. That has not been borrowed yet. This also will have to be added as capital plan and to be hopefully approved by the voters at the next coming town meeting, which I believe is June 7th. That'll get us into a position where we need to be with as much water as possible going to the water treatment facility based on the original design. So Tara and I have been working behind the scenes on that, knowing that the money may not be available, so we do have an estimate on that, looking at somewhere right around $700,000 for that well replacement. Just to give you a ballpark, numbers may change based on supply, demand, and everything else that we're dealing with now, but that's I believe that's going to be the number I'm going to throw into the capital budget. We'll move on from there.
That'll be adequate?
I sure hope so. Tara's going to crunch a few more numbers before we have to go to capital and just make sure that that's going to be appropriate for what needs to be done there. We did find a beautiful source, so it'd be a shame to lose that. I mean, if it is something we have to delay and put off for a year, unfortunately, it's not going to be a year. I mean, we're 2 to 3 years out on projects like this just based on material delays. So I think we get the funding in place now, and hopefully the numbers stay true. Like I mentioned, that's going to be part of my water capital budget. A few other items that will be on the capital budget, but they won't be funded directly from the users, is a water main project on South Worcester Street. That's going to run from South Worcester at Barrows to South Worcester at Parker. I do have the linear footage somewhere, but I didn't write it down. Apologize for that. It is a rather long length of road.
Where's Parker? I don't mean to be ignorant, but Parker doesn't sound familiar to me.
Parker is a street that joins South Worcester and John Scott Boulevard, short little street. There's Parker Court.
Okay. Where the Everett Leonard Field is?
That's on the other street. There's 2 Parkers. There's Parker Street and Parker Court.
Okay.
But general area, you're very close to the area. So
Okay.
years prior, we did a small water main portion of upgrades, and it was in the section that we had multiple failures on the section of South Worcester Street. So there is new main to connect to at that location, and the other location at the complete opposite end where Barrows and South Worcester meet is also both brand new pipes. So this stretch of pipe would actually replace a mix of old and undersized cast iron and AC mains in that location. And in this section, it's one of our oldest sections of town, so it's multiple iron pipe services, and a few of those homes still have the lead goosenecks that are in place as they transition from the main to the iron pipe service. So those projects check off quite a few of the boxes in the Infrastructure Act. It moves us forward for the lead remediation that's required by Mass DEP and the EPA. They really focus on lead service lines or lead line service lines, but anytime you can remove any lead from the system, if it's a gooseneck, a fitting that's non-lead, that's the avenue you want to focus on. So the oldest sections in town are where that really falls into play. Oddly enough, this is something that has been presented to the town manager a while back. Because it checks off multiple boxes, it was moved to the top of the list. We added Hodges Street, which has been a problem area for the past couple of years now with pipe failures. Different material down there, doesn't have lead goosenecks and iron pipe services. It's just a poorly installed pipe, and it's a very weak pipe because of the groundwater there. So adding all those together, we come up with the multiple services, multiple connections, hydrants, and all that, and it fits the boxes. Tara had filled out the paperwork as was required for the town manager to use that for county money, which is another form of stimulus money. And at one of the last select board meetings, a question was brought up why we're going to spend that much money in one particular area. Well, the answer to that is because it checks off multiple boxes that are required. You want to spend your infrastructure money on improving your infrastructure. So, we have been invited to attend one of the select board meetings to further explain that situation. I know Tara has made herself available. I don't know if any of the board wanted to join in on that as well, but I believe
Is that coming up? Has that been scheduled yet?
I don't know if it's been scheduled yet, but I
don't think I have it on my calendar. That's why.
I believe it's going to be March 2nd. That is the date that I had heard.
I'll wait. I'll obviously wait like everybody else. So, okay, that's good. That's fine.
The biggest thing with infrastructure, and which is I think is the main reason why they're trying to focus and have specific funding available for certain infrastructures that are out of sight, out of mind. You don't realize how old they are if they continue to work. I mean, if you drive by a water tower and you can see the paint's falling off it, it's pretty obvious to say, all right, you need to do some improvements there. When it really, it's kind of the other way around. What you don't see is what you should be worried about.
Yeah.
That's where you really want to put your money. It's a hard sell. There's other things and bigger banks for the buck. But, infrastructure is nothing to be sneezed at. And, nobody likes it when it's not available to them. But, typically the funding for...
Yeah, it's a big part of our quality issue.
Yep.
For us, and main breaks and infrastructure improvement was a big sell for, when we had the rate game, a while ago, and that was part of it. Infrastructure improvement.
Yeah, I mean, we've done pretty good with what we've done so far. We want to continue moving in the right direction, replacing these older pipes, especially removing anything cast iron. Huge water quality improvements that you see there. We may have some concerns where we're going to have to connect back to homeowners' iron pipe services. So we would probably want to do some type of public outreach to them, explain the benefits of them replacing their services. I know they can come at huge expense, but they're still going to see issues on their end if the water goes through brand new pipes in the streets, but then has to go through cast iron pipe before it gets into their home. So I know we've had many conversations with a few residents here in town that do have iron pipe services, and we've been able to show them the differences, physical differences between the water we pull from the hydrant in the street compared to what they see at the tap. And the only disconnect is the water service that's in between. It's great that you can install a filtration system to buy you some time, but all that does is kick it down the road. Ultimately that water service does need to be replaced and upgraded, with a better product.
Maybe we could send out a flyer when we do the work. I'm assuming we're gonna send out a flyer to tell them that the work is coming up and this is what kind of disruptions and when and how. Maybe we could put something on that flyer for the residents to get a better understanding of what it means to, like you said, replace this service on their side if it's iron.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, we, part of the mitigation against the lead, after, everything else that's going on across the town, across the communities, that have dealt with this is, the follow-up. If we go out and we dig up the service and we find that it has a lead gooseneck or is, a lead service line, we're required to act on it within a very short period of time. So it's in everybody's best interest to do it as a long project, to replace everything on the street based on the age and everything that fits the criteria. And then we would take a tally of what we actually found there. So I know just from my time that I've worked here, the areas that we've come across this, we've had some lead goosenecks that we've replaced with copper. We've done some repairs on iron pipe that's broken on our side and replaced that with copper from the main to the homeowner's side. So we have a pretty good indication of where these areas would be, not only based on age, but based on time that we've spent out there repairing our portions of it. Again, it's an expense. If customers don't have the money, or it's not fixed, it's not broken right now, why fix it? It's still a very hard sell, but I think a flyer is definitely a good idea. We probably get something on the website to possibly show differences in water quality with water going through a copper pipe or a plastic pipe as opposed to going through an iron pipe. It's night and day. I mean, you guys know it just because Steve, you deal with it, but it's hard to explain that to people. A visual goes a long way.
But at least you can, we have that, we have open line of communication with the customer, so they understand, have a better understanding of it, so we can at least give them the options of what they can. Maybe it doesn't necessarily have to be done right away, but at least they know that in the back of their minds it's going to have to be done.
Yep.
Is it at all, Frank? Is it at all more beneficial for the homeowners to do that during or before we do construction? Like, does it help to have that already done, or is it better for them to do it while the ground's already dug up on the road? You know what I mean? Like, is the timing matter at all to them as far as their costs to change their stuff?
There's no benefit on the timing, obviously, other than the fact that they wouldn't have to deal with, disruption inside the home. Anytime you even turn a valve on an iron pipeline, it creates disturbance. When the contractor goes through, replaces the old water main with the new, runs copper services over, they're going to have to tie into the existing iron pipe services that many of these homes have. That requires cutting it with a chop saw, actually taking the hand file out, filing, the basically speculation that's growing on these pipes, and then doing the physical connection. And you're going to find that, that type of work, disturbing that service that's been in the ground for 40, 50, 60 years, is going to shake up some debris, from that service line. Having a line that may be down to a 1/4 inch of diameter inside or a 1/2 inch of diameter, it's very difficult to flush those lines out if any debris does break free. So, there becomes, an issue not only with water quality, but now you're going to have issues with water pressure. Again, it's best to have it done at a similar time. It doesn't have to be done right when the construction's going on, but something to plan about in the future.
Okay, thanks.
That's all I have on the water. I'll jump over to the sewer real quick. I know we haven't spoken too much about that, and that'll bring us.
Frank,
yeah.
Regarding the work on South Worcester Street, could you tell us or figure out how long that replacement line is? You alluded to it, but
let me grab that when somebody else is speaking during the meeting, and I'll get that for you. I do have it here somewhere.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Frank, do you want me to just read that off?
If you have that, that would be great, Tara.
Yeah, so the South Worcester Street area was about 4,850 feet. So just under a mile. And the East Hodges added about 2,000 feet to that.
Quite a project.
Yeah, we have about $42 million worth of a 20-year plan for water main improvements. So that's about, oh, that's a small portion.
Thanks, Tara.
No problem.
Jump back to sewer real quick. Steve Peters and I had spoken a number of times about setting up a meeting with the town planner and the town manager to go over the municipal complex wastewater design and a few other items that just hasn't happened yet. It is still something that's in the work. I know Steve is on tonight. He's probably going to talk about that as well. Steve has also provided us with a couple estimates. Two other locations, we're actually applying for spending county money on generators. That we have one at our Norwood sewage pumping station. The other one will be at a Harley Road pumping station. Currently, right now, Norwood is undersized and antiquated for the amount of flow that we have going in there. And Harley Road doesn't actually have a permanent setup. It actually has a trailer mounted unit that we have to drag down there every time we lose power. So, looking to do 2 permanent mounted generators there and take care of that. Those are also eligible for funding under a portion of the county money. Added benefit for both utilities here. We do have some news that John was going to touch on if he has a minute. John, you want to?
I am here.
You want to cover that sewer vacancy for me?
Yes. The last few months we've had a kind of exhaustive search for a sewer tech position that we're kind of hoping can get trained and up to speed to replace our current sewer tech, who is probably going to be retiring within the next 2 years, to kind of help us go into the future on the sewer department side. And we had really exhausted all of our avenues. We had posted it in multiple places, and we weren't really getting a ton of interest in the job. Some interest that wasn't really what we were looking for, and some that were kind of fringe candidates. And we started setting up some interviews, and then we had three to four pretty decent candidates come in at the last minute, and we conducted some interviews the last few weeks, and we narrowed down a candidate who worked at a town near here, 6 years of sewer experience, municipal sewer experience, and has a D1 license, and has experience with some of the pumps we specifically work with, flight pumps. So we interviewed him, and we interviewed him again with Mr. Units and offered him the position. So he agreed, and he should be sworn in at the next select board meeting. And hopefully it'll work out long term. We're really excited about the knowledge he has, and hopefully help our current sewer tech and bring us into the future. So
Great news, Sean.
Yeah, excellent.
And we also, during the interview process, we were also fortunate where it was kind of a difficult decision, even with that candidate with all that sewer experience, to there was also another candidate we really liked. So for jobs that could possibly be opening within the next year, we're definitely going to keep him in mind and keep his application on file. So it's not often you run into that situation where you have a really tough decision between two good candidates.
Excellent, John. Good news. I know that was a chore. Finding qualified people. For anybody, for that matter. All right. Any other questions before we move on to TP Trail? All right, that being said, I think we have some people here from TP Trail. If you just state your name and let us know what's going on, and we can talk a little bit about your situation.
Great. Hi, my name's Cameron Bagapore. Good evening, gentlemen. We're looking to place a single-family home on the last developable lot on TP Trail, which is 9 TP Trail. It is a street that does not currently have a water main on it. And one of the requirements in order to get permission to build there is to provide services. Water is one of our obstacles. We also going to have an electrical obstacle to try to overcome this location. Looking to see what the board's appetite would be for a independent water service line to be run to the lot. And I actually have an illustration and some context so that perspective of the neighborhood, so you guys can see how it kind of goes together. If it's okay, I could share my screen.
We'd like that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, I think this one. Let me know if you can see this. This is the assessor's map with the aerials view overlay. Do you guys see that?
Yes.
Yes.
So the green is the subject property. This is as far zoomed in as I can go on the assessor's map. So just bear with me. If you can see my cursor, I'll give us some reference points. This street right here is Cobb. And then the Sasham Road comes off of it this way to the east.
Mhm.
And then TP runs north from Sasham. And I do have a couple further illustrations I want to show you, but while we're on this page,
That's a town accepted road. Sorry, Cameron, I don't mean to interrupt, but
that's fine.
that's a town accepted road, correct?
TP?
Yeah.
I
Or is
don't
that
know.
private-
What it is.
Is that a private way?
I think there's sewer service on that street. So I don't know if that makes a difference.
Frank, is that an accepted street?
Highway did accept that road. It was done prior to, I believe, Keith being in the seat that he is now. I
Okay,
think that might be back when Carl was in place.
okay,
But yeah,
Okay.
there is sewer on there as well.
okay.
Okay. So TP Trail is this the north-south, roughly north-south road here. Other neighbors are the butters to the north, which is 11 TP. That's an existing home, just actually went on the market. I'm not sure if it sold or not. And then further north is, I show here 16, although it's the same side of the road. I'm guessing it's 15. Maybe my eyes are failing me. But it's also on the east side of the road. My understanding, and Frank can confirm this, is that these two homes here, their service is provided by private independent water lines that run down TP and tie into Sasham. I think that's the case. That's just my understanding of what is kind of the lay of the land right now. TP Trail pretty much ends at the end of this property right here. You can see the storage of vehicles and everything. I think there's a fence across here. You can't continue through. So this is pretty much the end of the road. Our subject property would be the last buildable lot. There's this lot here next door, but it's also connected to this corner lot. Sorry, this one on Sasham here. So I believe those are connected. So they wouldn't be able to build here. That's not buildable. So it's effectively the last lot here on the road. But I just wanted to show that entire perspective so we can have a little context.
How many feet are you approximately from Sachem to that particular lot?
I believe these lots are 50 feet wide. So that would be about 150 feet to the road. So it would be 150 plus the distance of sewer. The distance to the home and then distance to the water main in Sasham. However, so that's the lay of the land. Let me see if I want to try and share a different Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Oh, move this window away from the shared application. Do you see the new window, the new graphic?
I do not.
Same one.
All right, let me see. New share. Combo, this one. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, so this, now that we've had the perspective, on Cobb Street, we have an 8-inch main. You can see here, this is just a close-up of what's your sewer map on the wall outside of the DPW. I took that picture. And then this is the 6-inch on Sasham. And so the yellow is the TP trail. And the proposal is to run a new independent water service on this red line across. This is 55 Cobb Street. We've spoken with the owners there. They're on board if we're allowed to do this, and to run the service across their line and then across TP so that as little impact as possible, and then onto the property.
You're talking half the distance then, it looks like.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
like maybe a little more than half, but
It's half. It's kind of a strange little jog there, and we're doing that to avoid her garage. And again, the field will be a little cleaner than this, but this is all photo paint shop would let me do. Obviously, they'll be a little cleaner, but that's essentially it. We put a curb stop, off the property line over on Cobb, so that we can have control of the service there. And the size is going to be to standard. That would be for however DPW would like it.
I would, well, from my point of view, I wouldn't, I'm not, to run a line off of Sachem, running that 150 feet up another spaghetti line on that road, I don't like that. I do like this as a much better option than running a spaghetti line, another one up that road. I don't think running a water main is financially the best idea if it can't be looped, even if, but I think this was probably the best option. I know we've talked about this prior. Frank, your thoughts on that?
This is the only way that I can see water getting to this location. Same thing. We don't want to do another spaghetti line down that road. We most likely would have difficulties when the small cities grant came through and installed the sewer down in these locations. They took the easiest part of digging and they went right in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
So we were able to have our 10-foot separation just because the road is so narrow. You'd be right up against the fences, up against property lines, if you were to even attempt to install a water main down here. So in the future, if something is done down here, they may actually require, relocation of the sewer main in order to make them both fit on this narrow road.
Where's this coming from? Sorry.
no, that's okay. I was going to say, unless the TP trail ends up getting longer eventually, it doesn't look like anything else could possibly go there. It looks like this is the last spot for anything.
Other property, yeah.
No, I agree. Across the way it is like this looks like the best route. We don't have to tear the street up, as long as they don't disrupt the sewer line at all when they cross it.
Is it the sewer up that road?
There is.
I think this is the best way to go about this, to be honest with you, to get them watered properly. I would personally, put the curb stop in front of the house. That's just my personal opinion. Instead, as opposed to out on Cobb Street.
Or on TP?
I would put it on TP in front of the house, so it's a little easier to find for in the event of an issue down the line. I know that's not a big deal. I'm sure not a big deal for you, Cameron, but
Of course, that's actually perfect. It's easier for everyone.
Yeah, I think, Frank, what do you think?
We would actually require two. We wouldn't want two in this situation. One where the main tapped coming into the yard where the easement is, and then the second one in front of the home, for ease of access. In a situation like this where it's going through, a yard before it gets there. I think 2 would be in order for this location.
Okay,
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
And we'll have when the as-built is done, we'll have that plotted pretty accurately since it is private.
okay.
Cameron, you've obviously already gotten with the owners of 55 Cobb Street.
Yes,
Well-
I've spoken with her. She's on board. And, in essence, she said, if you guys need it, we'll do it. We don't have we have an understanding. We don't have anything in writing. I didn't think
Okay.
it made sense to formalize it until we had the green light from the board.
Okay,
Right.
yep, I think
Makes
that's the
sense.
best way to go about this.
So do you
So
guys want to,
regarding crossing the sewer line, they just have to follow the rules of crossing the water line over a sewer line, and they should show us the detail, how they're planning on doing that.
Okay, we'll submit that, the cross connection detail. And obviously we'll, sand and tape the entire run.
Good.
Excellent.
We have any other questions?
No, that's great. I'll just get with Frank and go over the specifics.
Okay,
All right, fantastic. Thank you, gentlemen.
thank you very
Thank you.
much.
All right.
Thanks
bye-bye.
for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Moving right along now, we at little early for the West Main Street Cumberland Farms. Is we have people here from that group? Nope. Am I the only one that can't hear him?
well, Tom has a real bad connection.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not hearing him.
Oh, sorry, Tom. We're having difficulty hearing you. Sorry.
I'm John Marchand from Farland Corp. I can kind of give you an overview of our project.
Thanks.
Yeah, trying to get you there, John. You're a little low on volume.
See if I can adjust this. John Marchand from Farland Corp.
Better.
We're the civil engineers for the project. See if I can kind of give an overview of the project while Tom figures out his connection issue. So our project site is 60 West Main Street. If I could share my screen, I could show you the site plans that we have.
That'll be helpful. Great.
If everyone can see this. So this is our site utility plan. The project site is 60 West Main Street. It was most recently the site of, I believe it was a Bank America.
Yeah.
Right? This is the Yale School to the right of the plan. It's a vacant lot right now. But this project was originally submitted through site plan review planning board back in 2019.
Remember
Went
this?
through a lengthy review process for this. Reorienting the building and the fueling stations, and this is the kind of the final layout we got approved through all the other town boards. It's a 4,384 square foot convenience store building. There are 6 fuel dispensers. They're double dive, so 12 total fueling locations. We've got underground stormwater structures on this between the building and the dispensers, and then we've got a larger surface stormwater basin on the right side of the site. We've got two driveways off of West Main Street, kind of looping around the fueling stations. As far as water and sewer, the proposed water line is kind of highlighted in blue here. It's a 2-inch type K copper, tying into the when the road was recently or the sewer was recently put in West Main Street. We have a new water stub, 2-inch water stub, and new 6-inch sewer stub that were installed. So that's what we're tying into the recently installed service stubs. So water would be coming in on the right side of the building, sewer coming in on the left. We do have a 1,000-gallon grease trap, exterior grease trap, which then combines with the rest of the sanitary sewer and runs across the front of the site to tie in to a new manhole tying directly into that stub. And I'd be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
Yeah, John, those tanks for the fuel, are those the tanks that that we had talked about a couple of years ago, where they were double walled or something to that effect? Please refresh me if that's not the correct term, but
Yes, these are double walled fiberglass tanks. So essentially there's an interior wall, and then between the two there's a brine solution that's got a monitor, and so if there's any fluctuation in the water in the level of that solution, either from interior or exterior tank failure, it would be immediately picked up by the monitoring system, and we'd be able to fix it at that point. Yeah, all the piping is double lined. It's a pretty state-of-the-art fueling system that Cumberland Farms installs, and that did get approval through I think it's the select board that issued the UST approval.
well, I think that we had spoken about that, and that was it was a pretty good setup from what I remember talking about it. It was we felt that was the safest way to go to protect that area, which I believe is zone 2. Is that zone 2, Frank? There.
It's zone 2 right on the edge, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been to multiple meetings, the previous board and myself, about this. Yeah, going back to 2019, there was quite a few slideshows and stuff that were presented, explaining the safety standards that Cumberland Farms has in place with sensors between the walls of the tanks, and also to multiple alarms and things. So it was pretty impressive to see everything that goes in, again, with another infrastructure that's in the ground that it's out of sight, out of mind. But nice to see the safety provisions that are in place. This is a pretty basic setup here. Water on one side, sewer on the other, tying into existing stubs that were left. The 2 inch was brought across, I believe it was by the previous landowner during the time of construction. They had paid separately to upgrade from a 3/4 inch service to the 2 inch that now supplies the property. And just recently, the Board of Health and myself went over the installation of the grease trap, and that was approved also by Board of Health.
And it looks like the plans have been redone to get the irrigation on its own well as well.
Correct.
Yeah, that's totally separate than the potable system, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
But everything is all the utilities have plenty of room, so they're far enough apart from each other. They have ample separation.
Yeah, so we have a proposed 11-foot separation.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I couldn't read. I saw the number. I couldn't read the number. Thank you. Okay. Good.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, it does look good.
Looks good.
Good job. Going there. Yeah. Been a long time for you guys.
It has.
Does anyone else have any questions about this? Do we have to vote to approve this, Frank, or is this what exactly?
I do think, Steve, that you guys do need to vote to approve it. This would be the approval of the final set of plans, which
Okay.
is by bylaw.
Okay, we want to do that now?
Yep. What we'll do that now. 60 West Main, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Okay. I move that we approve the final plans for the Cumberland Farms at 60 West Main Street.
You want to reference the plan?
What am I referencing on that
Just the
specifically?
date of the plan? The date of the plan, August 27th,
9/22, is that right?
Yeah, it's dated August 27th, 2021, last revised 2/9/22.
Right.
Okay, so I move to approve the plans dated August 27th, 2021, latest revision February 9th, 2022, as the final set of plans for 60 West Main Street.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, John.
Yeah.
Very excited about that coming into town.
Good job.
Good job.
Finally, something's going to be going in there. It's a long time coming.
Good presentation.
Thank you, John. We appreciate it. And tell Tom we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right. We got Weston Sampson with us. Do you want to start with Tara? Give us an update?
Sure, sounds good. Frank's covered an awful lot there, so I don't really have too much more to add.
Okay.
Just to clarify, we are going to be submitting our certification for well 5A activation tomorrow, with the caveat that the system will be ready to be placed online once the absent bacteria test is received, and we'll forward that to DEP. I just want to give them the actual letter so they have it in hand so they can start drafting their response. So we were working with Frank today on that, sent over some photos, and I did discuss, briefly sent over the photos just one-on-one to DEP, just to let them know it was coming and imminent this week, so give them a heads up. So that's all good. They also gave us certification approval to place well 3 online as far as the new CT piping, and as Frank indicated, there's some work on his end that the water department needs to do, but that's in the works. We'll work with Frank on providing some additional documentation for well 4, construction, seeing, and design of the wells and drilling, as the Auchincloss funds may not be available like we were originally hoping for. So make sure we get that in so that we're ready to go for an annual town meeting for well 4. You should actually be receiving shortly the reports for well 1 and well 4 from Kevin McKinnon, our hydrogeologist. He's been out sick for a couple days, but he was indicating to me that he approved the reports this afternoon. So he just needed everybody's email addresses. So you should be getting that later today, or if not, first thing in the morning. With COVID, I think the biggest thing is whether or not we want to set up, last time we've done it in person. I'll send out a feeler tomorrow just with some dates and times, and online is totally fine with us. We can also set up an informational session at our Foxborough office, set up the presentation board, and that way everybody can kind of see it together. We can talk through the report and the information, and then make it a little bit easier for everybody to kind of ask questions and view things in person. If everybody's comfortable with that. If not, we can certainly do it all via Teams or Zoom. So I'll poll everybody tomorrow. We can kind of do that a little bit offline. And then let's see. So we also have let's see, what do you have? Got the ARPA funding meeting with the select board. So I think that's probably going to start at 7 p.m. The agenda hasn't been sent out, but that'll be March 2nd, Wednesday, March 2nd. The select board typically meets starting at 7 p.m. Hopefully we'll be on the agenda early on, and we can talk a little bit through the projects. Frank gave you an update on that. There's not really much more to add. It's water infrastructure improvements, that is what the funding's for. So it's on our list of 20-year capital improvements. It was bumped up the list a little bit due to frequent breaks on East Hodges. Hopefully that all makes sense. It also has lead service lines with the goosenecks, which are great to get rid of. So all in all, a really overall good project for that region of town. And unfortunately, yeah, it's expensive to install water mains. So we'll answer whatever questions that come up. So we'll talk about it. But
Great.
and then there's also the sewer generators that are part of that. I'm not sure if Steve Peterson will be able to make the meeting, but I'm well aware of those needs too in case that comes up. But that's a much smaller dollar amount request than compared to the $2+ million for the water main improvements.
Yeah. Right. Great.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll be sending a couple emails either tonight or tomorrow for everybody. We'll regroup later this week about setting up meetings.
Okay. So rough estimate. I know you hate this question, but when do you think we could have that online?
Well, 5A or
5A.
Yeah,
That's
so
gonna be the first one, right?
the typically DEP wants to see actual paper copy of the bacteria results. Went to the lab today, Frank, right? So it's possible we might get that by Thursday, Friday morning. I know they're usually pretty good about the verbal. As long as we have that and DEP's working this week, then our hope is that we get an approval so we can start on Monday, if not sooner.
That's outstanding news. Really is.
Yeah. So
It really is.
the letters drafted. I'm just waiting for tomorrow morning to hit send in the morning. So
Okay.
What does 5A produce?
it's permitted for 700 gallons a minute.
Thank you.
It can do much more than that if we need to.
Oh, it can go higher, but yes, you're only permitted for water management withdrawal rates. But yeah, it'll be a significant workhorse once it's online, and it'll give the flexibility to take certainly well 4 offline for cleaning, take well 1 offline, so you don't have to deal with that now, and that can just be reserved as an emergency source. Well 6 is permitted or 6A, I should say, the same yield as it was for the other one. I think it was just around 600 gallons a minute. So combine those two, are significantly the majority of the water you need for peak demand season. And then well 4, the hope is that also once we construct and do the full pumping test for that, that you'll get similar yields for that as well. And you'll have the 4, 5, and 6 going to the treatment plant, and then more or less 1 and 3 become your reserve sources in case of emergency some kind of issue when you want to get the wells. But yep, no, it's all moving in the right direction. And I forgot to mention that we did send the contracts to Dankerous last week. I don't believe we've gotten a response yet, but yesterday was a holiday, so we'll reach out to them tomorrow morning just to kind of check in, make sure they didn't have any questions with the paperwork. But they have 2 weeks to get that back to us. So we'll just kind of prod them, make sure that gets moving. And as Frank mentioned, that work has been appropriated at the last town meeting, so at least 5 and 6 funding is secured.
Perfect. Awesome, Tara. Thank you.
Sure. Hey, good news today.
I love the good news. All right, Steve, you want to keep the good news going?
Excellent. I have nothing but good news because I don't have much to say.
Yeah, sorry if I set you up in a bad sense.
I don't have much to say. So I will piggyback on some of the stuff Frank had touched on. So for Holly Road and Norwood, so we are have our engineering contract to work on the design of the generators at those stations. As Frank said, at Norwood, you currently have a backup gas-driven pump, engine-driven pump. It's really kind of antiquated. It's worked well, but we'll be working on getting a generator there. And then the Holly Road site doesn't have any permanent on-site backup. So we've executed the contract. That's part of the ARPA meeting. Tara, what day did you say that meeting was?
March 2nd.
March 2nd. All right. I would have written it down because I didn't know I was part of that. So we can talk about that, Tara. I think the water is the bigger.
I think it's just the water work, but
I don't think
I
it
can
really
cover you
necessarily
for
have
the
to be
generator.
there. Yeah.
Then that will be good. I will accept it. If I do not need to be there, I will not complain. We'll put it down.
Very good.
Gonna be there, I can make it.
Appreciate it, Steve.
All right. So we just need to schedule a kickoff meeting and site visit when the weather's right to get out there and look at the sites. We also, for Turtle Crossing, the private developer, they did execute a contract with us. So we had sent a scope. It showed it to Frank. And so we now have a contract with the developer to do a peer review of the sewer. And it kind of dovetails with the Knollwood generator because we need to get out and really look at do some drawdown testing at that Knollwood station and figure out what it needs to be in order to, not only handle the current flows, but the future flows associated with Turtle Crossing. So we will be moving forward with that. At this point, I know we're going to need to do a peer review of Island Brook. I assume at this point we're still waiting. I don't know if that was the last meeting or 2 meetings ago now, where they.
Yeah, I thought they were going to have a set of plans for us by this meeting. Didn't they say that?
That's what we're waiting for.
Yeah, they had some difficulties getting us an electric copy. I had requested electric copies. I believe Mr. Gallagher was having challenges presenting or getting those to be presented to you guys. I gave him emails. I even asked if he could just send it to me and I would forward it. But I have yet to see them. If we do go back to actual in person, we do have a hard copy set here that you guys are more than willing to take a look at. But I know doing it on your own time would sure be beneficial, prior to a meeting. So I will reach out to him again, see if he's had any luck with electronic copies, or I can even ask for 3 sets of hard copies. Whatever will move it along a little bit quicker.
Okay, good.
All right.
Let's
And
see,
we'll
next
need to do a peer review agreement with them also, once we're good to go on that. So we'll work on that. Frank mentioned the town municipal complex. So I think I touched on that at the last meeting with you guys. We just need to firm up the scope and set up a meeting. The intent is, with the town manager and the town planner, I think Frank are the key people that need to be involved with that. And again, the key being that the town is going to pay for those efforts to really look at what available options there are and what makes the most sense. They're not great. There's no perfect option. But that's something that we need to move along. So Frank, we'll circle back and try and get that. We should have that meeting with them before the next commission meeting.
Okay.
Try and get it on the calendar for the next couple of weeks. At least see what they think about the scope, and then I can work with them on a contract if they want to move forward. So for Cobb Street, I had presented an amendment at the last meeting. So just as a refresher, so basically we're at our contract amount. The contract, we're not for the lead times and delivery schedule would be done at this point. So the amendment is for our engineering services. It's just intended, to cover our, construction services are kind of tied to the length of time that you're supporting the project. So I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that, or if you want to discuss that more, or if you have any questions. It's a $5,000 amendment, and that's just giving us a new upset limit. Right now, we're about $500 over our contract. I just want to be able to submit an invoice, and also to be able to support the project through completion, through these last submittals, and then once they actually install the generator.
Did we not already vote on that?
Didn't vote. You said, because I had just gotten it to the commission right before the meeting. I had just sent an email out. We said we would table it for the discussion. Or the vote, or whatever.
Do we have
Basically,
any?
it's adding 5,000 to the original 50,000.
Correct.
Do we want to vote on that tonight, Steve?
I have no problem voting on that side, actually. Steve, you okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So Steve Peterson, this is to add $5,000 to the contract for the Cobb Street generator project?
Yeah, it's called the Cobb Street Pump Station Improvements Project.
Cobb Street Pump Station Improvements Project. Okay, I move that we amend the Cobb Street Pump Station Improvement Project to add $5,000 to the original $50,000. Did I do that right?
That's fine.
I
think so.
second.
You second it, Steve?
I did.
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent.
Yes, thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I think that's it.
And
Any questions on the sewer?
like we had talked about before, that should handle the rest of the job, I'm assuming.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing, so, it definitely will handle the rest of this job. And then in the budget each year, Frank has carried the next phases of improvements at that station. So
Okay.
if we do move forward, like phase 2 is gonna be work in the wet well and with the grinder.
But that's a whole nother, that'll be a
That
whole
would be
nother,
another contract. Yeah, that would be, we'd have to go out to bid for another contract. Oh,
we'll worry
depending on
about.
the timing, now that we have this guy on the hook for, he's gonna be here for a while, it could be a negotiated scope, but it's really a different kind of contract. This guy's an electrical contractor, and we would need more of a.
Okay. Okay.
Also, just as an update too, we, Steve and Frank, we had that, since the last meeting, we did meet with the EDC. You know, and we weren't as well received as the restaurant guy, but I thought it went pretty well. The meeting, no, it was good, and it was good. I think they were appreciative of the update. They were really just looking for information about,
Okay.
you know, how the sewer plant works and their economic plans.
Okay, good. All right, thanks, Steve.
All right, you bet.
Thanks.
Good job.
So before we get into future meetings, does anyone else have anything they'd like to talk about, bring up, new world business? All right, not hearing any. The next meeting I have is March 9th and March 23rd. I'm looking at
March 9th or March 8th?
the 8th or 9th, I'm sorry.
Looking for the Tuesday, right?
Yes, yes, correct. I'm sorry. Did I say 9th? Is 9th a Wednesday?
Yeah.
I meant the Tuesday. I'm sorry.
That would also be the 22nd, not the 23rd.
Correct.
I'll try that again.
March 8th and March 22nd are the next meetings, and I'm assuming and believing that everything is going forward. We can meet in person.
That's what I'm understanding.
I'd like to plan on that at the Harvey Street address where we normally have them. Steve, you've already been there, so if 5:30 still works for you guys, we'll do 5:30, and
Yeah, looking forward to it.
yeah, me too.
Looking forward to meeting you guys in person.
Because I'm a really cool guy. I mean, I can't say I'm leaving. Anyway,
Very good.
all right, Jim, your favorite motion?
It's that time of the night. All right.
It is.
I move to adjourn this evening's meeting.
Adjourned, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.